Something has shifted in how political communication works. It is not simply that people disagree about facts, but that factual correction itself no longer settles anything. What happens when calling something false can actually make it more powerful? When being proven wrong does not weaken a claim, but hardens it. What has changed is not merely that people disagree about facts. It is that, for a large share of political communication, factual correction no longer functions as a shared referee. Recent polling reflects exactly that breakdown. Gallup found United States trust in mass media at a record low 28% in 2025, and Pew reported in 2025 that 8 in 10 Americans think Republican and Democratic voters cannot agree on basic facts. Pew also found a steep partisan divide in trust of major news sources, with Democrats much more likely than Republicans to use and trust many mainstream outlets. That matters because fact-checking only works well inside a larger social agreement, that there are institutions, methods, and records that can at least sometimes settle disputes. When that agreement weakens, the fact-check is reclassified. It is no longer received as an attempt to verify reality. It is received as a factional move by an enemy institution. Pew has documented that partisan split directly in attitudes toward fact-checkers, with Republicans much more likely than Democrats to see fact-checking as favoring one side. So the environment changes from who is right to whose side are you on. In that environment, calling something false can even strengthen it among supporters, because the accusation itself becomes proof that the statement is serving its political purpose. The lie stops functioning primarily as description and starts functioning as a badge of membership. That is why leaning into the lie is a useful phrase. A traditional lie tries to hide its status as a lie. In the newer mode, the speaker often does not need universal belief. What matters is that supporters recognize the statement as an act of defiance against rival institutions. The point is not only to persuade neutrals. The point is to demonstrate dominance, punish dissent, and force observers to choose between the leader and the referee. There is a second shift too. Abundance defeats rebuttal. The Reuters Institute's 2025 digital news report says overall trust in news has remained stable globally for several years. But it also emphasizes that people are operating in an information environment increasingly populated by synthetic content and misinformation. Its reporting and related coverage note broad public concern that distinguishing truth from lies online is getting harder. In such an environment, correction becomes labor-intensive while insinuation is cheap. A lie can be produced in seconds. Disproving it requires records, context, and audience patience. The result is not necessarily that falsehood wins every argument, but that it exhausts the conditions under which arguments can be settled. That helps explain why some modern political speech feels different from older spin. Spin, shaded, selected, and exaggerated. It still usually paid tribute to the idea that facts mattered. The newer style often treats contradiction itself as a show of strength. The speaker can say one thing on Monday, its opposite on Wednesday, and a third thing on Friday because consistency is less important than staying central, flooding attention, and keeping followers oriented around loyalty rather than coherence. This is also why official transcripts, fact checks, and archival records still matter, but no longer suffice. Their role has shifted. They are not guaranteed to persuade the committed audience. They mainly preserve a recoverable record for everyone else: journalists, historians, courts, bureaucracies, and citizens who still care whether words match events. In other words, they defend reality institutionally even when they fail rhetorically. The deepest danger is not that everyone believes the lie. It is that enough people conclude truth is permanently inaccessible, and therefore not worth pursuing. Once that happens, cynicism and propaganda start to converge. The propagandist says, "Believe me." The cynic says, "Believe nothing." Both outcomes disable accountability. This is less an age of ordinary deception than an age of anti-refereeing. The target is not just truth, but the legitimacy of any process that can publicly define what the truth is. Once every correction can be dismissed as hostile narrative management, the liar gains a structural advantage. The countermeasure is not naive faith in one outlet or one fact-checker. It is triangulation, raw video, primary documents, multiple independent reports, and attention to whether claims remain stable when checked against records. That is slower and less emotionally satisfying than partisan certainty, but it is one of the few ways to resist a politics built on making verification itself look partisan. The questions at the beginning now come back into focus. What happens when calling something false makes it stronger? When contradiction no longer weakens a claim, but reaffirms allegiance? The answer is not simply that politics becomes more deceptive. It is that the function of language itself begins to shift, from describing reality to organizing power. In that shift, truth does not disappear, but it loses its authority. The concept itself becomes just another tool to control the public narrative. The direction is clear. If shared methods of establishing truth continue to erode, then disagreement will no longer be resolvable in common terms, and politics will be decided less by what is real than by what can be made to hold.